Okay, looks like we're live. Coming in a few minutes early. Help give you guys time to get your notifications. And I know it takes a few seconds for you to actually see the stream. So it was a little odd because I can't usually when I come in here, I've got Tammy and Deb and a couple other ladies in here interacting back and forth. You guys all must be busy today. And you know what? I absolutely get it. And in fact, I'm talking about gardening today, obviously, by the title. So, one thing I notice is I'm going back, I download these videos and then the lives once I can, which isn't until the next day. And then I go and edit them. Some of you already know this, and then make them into shorter videos, sometimes 2 videos, sometimes even 3, depending on how long it is. And then I set those edited videos with the added photos and video clips and whatnot in to publish like about 6 weeks down the road on my main channel. And that way people who can't make it to the lives or like shorter videos can, they can watch it in at least a little more condensed forms when they're able. And yeah, it works out good that way. So here we are. Finally. Barbara, Karen, Denise, happy to learn. Good to see you ladies coming in. Hopefully Deb will be in here because usually she's my most hardworking moderator that I have. Maybe I need to get a couple more moderators set. Anyway, there I am bumping the table. I haven't even got started yet. So for those who kind of straggle in later, don't worry, you won't be missing much for at least the first 5-6 minutes because I just come in a little early to give time for those notifications to get out there and people to be able to actually get them, those people who are blessed enough to actually get their notifications. Some of you might have seen my video from this last week, which was obviously a section I'd edited from a previous live here about the YouTube's frustrating algorithms. But one thing is funny, I got to make sure I point this out. I'll probably say this on my next this and that I shoot. Not the one that's publishing tomorrow because that one's already ready to go. But there was a couple people that, saw that video. It's like, well, that's it. I'm going over to Rumble. I'm going to start watching you there. No, please don't. I mean, subscribe to me there. Yes, absolutely. Subscribe to me at Rumble. So if something happens to both my YouTube channels, you'll at least have another place that you can watch my videos. But since the last time I mentioned it, in fact, that's another standalone video that'll be coming out later, made from a live. I'm making even less money on Rumble now than I was then. I think I might actually have made for the month of April, a total of $13 for the whole month. I'm only making like an average of 17 to 40 cents a day. It's really sad. It's really sad. So even with my revenue continuing to drop on YouTube, and I've got how many subscribers do I have? 413,000 subscribers over there. Even with that, it's like, I mean, I should be making 4 times the amount of money like I was. I have more subscribers now than I did before all this started happening, and I'm making a quarter of the money I was making. But even with that, I'm still doing much better on YouTube than on Rumble. Rumble payout is terrible. Terrible. There she is. Hello, Deb. I was just a little surprised because usually when I come in here, there's already people chatting back and forth. I'm like, man, you ladies are early. But like I said, I'm pretty sure a lot of you just are busy getting stuff done. Was just watching your vinegar video for the 10th time. LOL. I want to start the garden, but we still have risk of frost here. Yep, I get that. Certain places, some people are already harvesting things from their garden. Like I think Deb is one of those. If you're in the United States anyway, and you live in the South, well, pretty much anywhere in the South, you can do pretty good. You probably already harvesting stuff. One of the things I plan on doing today is, if I have time, if not today, I'll do it tomorrow, and that is putting my tomatoes into the ground. They've been out in the greenhouse for a couple weeks, but now they're getting a little big for the pots I have them in. So it's time to put them in the ground out there. That means chickens will forever be banned. Well, not forever, at least until fall. Will be banned from the greenhouse, which is kind of sad because when we have a rainy day, it's a really great place for them to go take their dust baths. But we do tend to have more dry areas that are somewhat sheltered that they can take dust baths in. And I think today Patrick's getting started at least on covering that chicken the chicken run. So the chicken run is actually now divided in half, though at the moment, all the chickens can go in all areas. But when the chicks, which I don't know if you can hear them over here, probably not. I got two dehydrators running back here, and they're not to the point where they're really loud yet, but they're making a lot of noise right now. They're all cheeping, cheepity, cheep, cheep, cheep. They're busy. Scratch, 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 cheep, cheep, cheep. Got 10 of them. So if you didn't see my short that I published the other day, they all hatched out on Thursday. Anyway, when those get big enough where I can start having them outside, I have the section of the chicken yard that I like to enclose, but none of the chicken yard area is covered, like protected from rain. So, yeah, it gets a little tricky, and we really need to protect that whole area because it will also help keep on the really, 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 really wet days, which are pretty normal here. Keep the rain from going into the chicken coop. Sometimes it can kind of flood right in front of the chicken coop. It didn't used to do that until we had that one year about 2.5 years ago where everything flooded. We had so much more rain than what's even normal for us that the streets were flooded, everything was flooded, and the water had come up into the chicken coop. And so now that whole area out there gets saturated, and sometimes the water still starts going into the coop. So, we got to do something to help keep it drier there and give them more dry areas to hang out on rainy days when I have to close them off from the greenhouse. So they're not digging up my maters. Anyway, so it is past time for me to get started on my topic. So I'll do that. Hello, everyone. Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. So glad to see y'all here. And today I'm going to be talking. It's going to be all about gardening, but I have a couple of different topics in related to gardening, so they'll flow right together. So hopefully I can break it up into two separate standalone videos that way. So the first part is gardening benefits, the benefits of gardening. Now, this can be just having a few pots in a south-facing window or on a deck or on a patio somewhere, or having a massive garden or somewhere in between. It doesn't matter. I don't want anyone to ever feel like you have to turn your whole backyard like we did into a garden, or that you have to have 20 acres or 40 acres or even 1 acre. Okay, so remember, for those of you who are new, we're doing most of this on our little neighborhood lot with our house, with our big 1,200 square foot shop and firewood storage. And then, of course, we have to have the chicken coop and places for the chickens to run around. And everything that I'm doing gardening related is here. Well, I say everything, but there's a few things that we're kind of starting to work on the other piece of property. But a lot of it's just stuff that already grows wild there, like the wild blackberries, the little tiny ones, and the Himalayan blackberries that grow wild, and they're so tasty. Both those two are the two best. So it's just giving them more, enough area to just expand. And we don't have to worry about the elk eating all those berries. We have to be careful what we put out there because elk will eat everything out there. So and it's harder to keep an eye on than right here. And most of my garden areas, I'll say, are pretty well fenced in. We do have elk that come through the neighborhood, sometimes deer. But anyway, back to my point. My point being that this is just a shy 1/3 acre. It's not even a whole third of an acre. it's a little less than a third acre. And then, it's competing with a ranch style house that is 2,400 square feet and a 1,200 square foot top on top of that. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of excess space for garden. And then we've got a county easement in the back between us and the neighbors right behind us. So we can't do anything in there. That's got to stay completely open so the county can get to the power poles and whatnot. So, I've got out this way, I've got a little garden out here. It's my front yard garden. I've got a garden on the west side. I got a little narrow strip. So I do the best I can to make the most out of what we have here. So if we can do what we're doing now here, and I know we could still do more, we could do better, but we also have a lot of rain we have to work around. But the point is, so everybody can do at least something, even if you live in an apartment and you have no land at all. There's always something you can do. And so the benefits of doing that. Now, this really kind of goes hand in hand with the video. And I hadn't really planned this because now you got to remember most of the videos you see published over on my main channel, except for the Monday this and that videos and any garden related shorts or chicken related shorts, they were all recorded 6 weeks ahead of time or more and before they've published. So I just got totally sidetracked on what my point was. I totally forgot. Now I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe somebody can get me back on track. I totally lost it. But I was talking about the benefits. Because I was talking about the fact that I just had that video published about the benefits of growing your own medicine. Well, I had shot that about 6 weeks ago. So when I planned to do this live, it didn't dawn on me until after I'd already made this plan that, that video just published. But the topic is a little bit different, though they go hand in hand. Now, if you'd like to see that video and you haven't seen it, I do have it linked in the description box down below. I think it published on Friday. So anyway, now, I'm going to go through some of the benefits. And then if you have anything you would like to add in the chat, please put it in all caps and I'll try to make sure to read that. Even if it's something that is just beneficial to you, that might not be, other people may not find it, that is a benefit to them, but maybe it is to you. Please share that because there's going to be somebody else that would appreciate that. So let's just go over, starting with the obvious thing, that when you can grow your own food and your own medicine, I want to say it's free. Okay. It can take money and time to get things started, to get things going, to like, I just had to buy a whole bunch more fencing to protect some of my garden areas from my chickens and whatnot. There is cost involved, but once you have your infrastructure in place and you've got your pots or whatever it is, then, you can continue to keep using these things every year. And then you're getting free food. You're getting free medicine. You got to buy your seeds to get started or your starts. But then if you have perennials, they'll keep coming back. And then anything that's an annual, you can learn to start collecting the seed from that and then grow it again. So you don't have to keep buying seeds every year. So the only reason you would need to buy seeds again would be if you're wanting to try a different variety of some kind of squash well, I don't grow potatoes from seed, though it can be done. I don't. Whatever. If you're wanting to try a different variety of something, then you may want to buy something or you just want to add more to your garden. But once you have things established, it's just learning how to keep collecting the seed and keeping your perennials alive. Now, with that said, this isn't so much a benefit, but I want to throw this out there as a little tip. When you get your herbs or anything, your vegetables to a point, and maybe you live in an area like we do, and you really only need one zucchini plant, but you go ahead and put in 3 and you've got zucchini coming out your ears and you're begging people to take the zucchini. Put up as much of that as you can. It wasn't that long ago. I had this massive patch of oregano both out here and out here. Now I'm down to little teeny tiny because it almost all died on me, and I had to dig up what was still alive, these tiny little starts, and move them to different places. So I probably won't be harvesting oregano this year, but guess what? I have plenty because I always put up plenty. I always put up plenty of my sage. And you might be going, well, I don't need, 3-quart jars of oregano to get me through a year. It still is a good idea to put up at least double what you have before because you never know if one of your perennials just might not come back. Another one that is struggling to come back that's done good for me for many years is my catmint, believe it or not. The main one that was out in the main garden isn't coming back at all this year. I noticed last year it was looking a little sad. This year it it died completely. So that was unexpected. As healthy as that thing was for so many years. But thankfully, I had made starts from that years ago and had a couple going out here. Now those were also struggling. But when I realized what was happening, what's happened with the ones on the west garden is they've got crowded out by the dandelions and a couple other things I was intentionally allowing to grow. So it's a matter of taking the catmint plants and moving them somewhere else or digging up some of the excess dandelion. Because right over there in the west herb garden is the best place for my dandelion. It gets the biggest leaves, the biggest flowers over there. It's great. So, in the words of Minnie Pearl, it's funny because now I always think of my chicken. She was one of the last of the old ones that we had to put down. I only have one old chicken left, and that's Claire from our original 7 chickens. Um, so anyway, I just want to throw that out there. It's really important that you always don't assume just because your perennials are doing good and they keep, maybe 5, maybe 10 years in a row, they just keep giving you a lot. You never know when one year all of a sudden something's going to happen and that perennial just might not come back. It might just decide, you know what, I'm done. And if you live in a place like I do, a lot of those, lemon balm does good coming up from seed that it drops, but like the oregano, the catmint and stuff just doesn't seem to do well coming up from the seed that drops. So it has to be started indoors and given time to grow before I can put it in the ground. So there's a lot in the mint family, surprisingly, that are that way here. Lavender is the same way and certain others. So just remember that. You should always put up extra of everything because you don't know from year to year what is going to make it to the next year. And then if the next year you've got you still got plenty, then just put up enough for another year. So you're always at least a year ahead on anything that you're going to be putting up, at least that much. So anyway, so the first point obviously was the free food, free medicine, free in quotes, obviously. Um, another benefit obviously is also obvious is knowing what went into making that food. You know what you added to your soil if you added anything. You didn't, if you added any chemical fertilizers or not, which hopefully anyone following me knows better than to do that. You know what kind of mulch layers you're adding. You know what kind of life is going on in there. You know how this stuff was raised. You know that there were no pesticides. You know that your stuff is not genetically modified. You know what you're growing. And even when you're I have a terrible time getting lavender to come back. Lavender doesn't typically like a lot of water, but I'm trying to remember where you live, Linda. Surprisingly enough, the lavender that's doing best for us. Now, rosemary, I have to grow it in a sheltered area where it doesn't get too much rain. But the lavender that I thought would be the same, because that's what I've heard, the lavender that has been doing best, I had to just hack it way down last year because it was so massive, is the one I planted out at the edge of the main garden close to the chicken coop, and it gets all the rain. It's doing great. So I don't know what to tell you there. But yes, free workout, but I was going to get to that. But but yeah, you know what went into making those. And you know that you're getting healthier foods as a result than what you can buy at the store. Even those things that are labeled non-GMO and organic, we're still going to buy non-GMO and organic for the things we have to buy, but you're still never certain, especially if it's USDA certified. You're still not certain what that percentage of organic it really, really is, unless it's, oops, sorry. Are you saying sorry to me? Because don't be sorry. You're just backing up a point that I haven't said yet. um, anyway, so yeah, you can't, there's not 100% guarantee that anything you have, any of the produce that you buy is 100% organic, no matter how it's labeled. You just, there's no guarantee unless you know you're buying it from someone that you know, and they have, you know how they treat their garden. No. Anyway, sorry. Okay. Then there's the, and I kind of covered this a little bit in my last live, but there's that beneficial bacteria that's in the soil. And there's lots of beneficial bacteria in your soil, especially if your soil's healthy. Okay, if you're treating your soil right, it's going to be healthy. And when there's certain bacteria that when you get that on your skin and it gets into your, into your bloodstream, it's going to increase the endorphins. So that means it's going to help ease depression and just make you happier all the way around. It's very, very healthy for your state of mind, as well as like Deb had mentioned, it's a free workout. You don't have to pay to go to a gym. I mean, I've always thought it was silly to pay to go to a gym when you can work out at home. Though I know for some people, paying for a gym membership kind of makes them feel more motivated to go. But you know what? If you just start doing things like gardening and doing other things by hand, do things a little more old fashioned, you can get a pretty good workout without having to go to a gym and pay for the cost. And getting out in the sun and the fresh air is so healthy. It's healthy for your body, it's healthy for your skin, it's healthy for your entire state of mind. I know that, it was just like a few weeks back or maybe a month ago where I was just really just struggling, and I had to come on one of my well, I didn't have to, but I came onto one of the lives and I was kind of bemoaning all the dark and all the wet and all the mud and all the rain, and how I just there's this point of the year where it does get very depressing because you can't get out there and work in the garden, and you start to feel like it's never going to be nice enough. Nothing's ever going to grow. It's going to rain forever and ever and ever, and you feel like you're in that Ray Bradbury story where they crash landed on this planet that rained all the time. Why do I always forget the name of that story? Some of you who, anyone who's ever read any Ray Bradbury short stories would know what I'm talking about. But I remember when I read that short story, I'm like, yeah, that's like living in Forks, because I was already living here by the time I read that story. And I don't know if it was called The Long Rain or Rainy Season or something like that, but it wasn't a season. I mean, it was the whole planet, these astronauts, whatever, crash landed on. And then they had to find that they had sun domes so people could have a place where they could stay dry and warm and get some at least fake sun. And they finally were able to get to one, but a meteor, if I remember correctly, a meteor had gone through it, and of course it didn't work. So they were still without any kind of sun, even a fake sun. So both weekends. And then sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. And then one of the last points in regards to that is that just the whole, just the whole idea of gardening. Again, it doesn't matter if it's even just growing a few herbs in a windowsill. There's a feeling of accomplishment. This kind of goes right along with that whole getting outside, and getting the bacteria from the soil and increasing your endorphins. Even if it's all has to be done inside, because that's the only option you have. There's a sense of joy when you see something coming up out of the soil, especially if it's something that you can use for medicine or for seasoning your food, and it's something you grew yourself. That the confidence it builds, the sense of accomplishment you get, and just the joy. It's so good for the soul. So gardening is good for the mind, the body, the soul. It's good for your mind because I tell you what, it makes you have to think. Yeah, you have to problem solve. The Long Rain. Okay, that is what it was called. Well, see, Stephen King also had a short story called The Long Walk, two totally different stories. He wrote that and that one was even more horrifying. A very dystopian kind of story. He wrote it under his pseudonym. I can't remember what it is now. I'd recognize it if I saw it or heard it, but Google search. But so I was afraid. I'm like, I'm not thinking of The Long Walk, am I? So Long Walk, Long Rain, two different authors, two totally different stories, both horrifying. But anyway, everybody can do a little bit of something, and I feel like I can't say that enough, because a lot of times people get kind of downtrodden or whatever, and they see people have been working at it for a long time. People have been doing it for, even if someone's only been doing it for a few years, and they're comparing themselves to that person or the person that's been doing it for 10 or 20 or 30 years. And everybody had to get here. Oh, I was talking about the whole idea of it being a good exercise for the mind as well, because it's that constant trying to figure out how to problem solve. So we all live in different types of climates, and we all have different types of soil conditions. We all have different types of pests that we have to deal with. And even if we have a similar pest, the climate can have a say on how difficult it is to deal with that pest. So I bring up the slugs a lot because of that. So I actually lived in Moses Lake as a little girl for a couple of years, hot and dry, very much like Wenatchee. And places like that will get slugs, but because it's hot and dry, the amount of slugs and the amount of time they're out and about eating everything is far shorter than it is in a place that gets an average of 120 inches of rain per year. And, we don't live far from a rainforest. So, we live in the wettest part of Washington state, which is on the west side. Everything on the west of the Cascades is wet. Everything that is on the east side of the Cascades is very dry. And that's most of Washington state. Even though Washington state is associated with rain, it only applies to 1/3 of the state. And then about 90% of that rain only applies to our small little area. Not even Seattle is included in that. So slugs around here do not respond to the same things like, the beer and dishes, the coffee grounds, the eggshells, the copper wire, because the copper wire quickly corrodes and is no good, and the slugs will just go right over it. It doesn't bother them one bit. So the only thing that works is salt, but you don't want to be putting a lot of salt on your plants or around your plants, because you can kill your plants if you get too much salt. So we have different ways that we have to try to figure out how to deal with the slugs. We have, because of the amount of rain we get, there's a lot of things that we either can't grow at all, or if we wouldn't really want to grow them, like the rosemary, we realize that we have to grow it in a sheltered area that's not going to get so much of that rain. It's not even just about having well-drained soil, because even well-drained soil, when you get as much rain as we do, is not good enough. It's still too much water. And so I had to plant my rosemary in very sheltered areas that get very minimal water, and whatever moisture they need, they'll pull up from the ground. But they don't get rained on. I do water them a little bit in, when it's dry out, but that's about it. So, can you hear my chicks now? There's one in there getting kind of loud, or it was. 10 little fluffy butts. They're so cute. So, anyway, I got another half of this subject I'm going to talk about, and then I have one more thing, if I don't get cut off, that I'm going to cover that kind of goes hand in hand with the whole garden idea, but goes hand in hand with everything else that we do around here. So we're only 30 minutes in. Good. We're still here. And by the way, I got to say it before I forget, if I get cut off, the link to the backup stream is in the description box, along with that other link that I was talking about to the, 5 benefits of growing your own medicine. And I think I threw another link in there. Oh, to Zach's video, his most recent video. So I'll talk about my chicks really quick though. So some of you know that I put in 12 eggs, and I was telling you that best I can tell, it looks like all 12 got fertilized. The reason I put in 12, I didn't want that many chickens, is because from my experience the last 2 times, I may only be that half of those eggs got fertilized. Well, 11 of the 12 got fertilized. And then one of them died before it could peck its way out of the shell. I have a feeling it was still alive that morning in there, but it just didn't survive. That's always kind of sad, but you know what? I really wasn't wanting 10 chickens. And then there's also, I don't know how many of them are going to be roosters, and I don't want any more roosters. So whichever ones of these end up being roosters, they're either going to become a meal or they're going to find a new home. I already have a new home for one of them, whichever one. So only 2 survived. Wow. Oh, that's terrible, Deb. Wow. So what is interesting about these chicks though, if you see that little video short, I think I put it out on Friday. Yeah, it was Friday, because that was when I took the little clips, except for the one where Jace is standing there right after the first one hatched out the day before. And he kept squeaking at him. He kept squeaking at him like that was kind of cute. But so all of the eggs I collected from Buff Orpingtons only, because I didn't want any eggs from Silver, even though she's a nice chicken. I just didn't really want any eggs from her because she's not a very meaty bird. So there were several things I'm looking at. I'm high grading the eggs because I want them from my Buff Orpingtons because they're nice birds. They're, for the most part, they're healthier. They're I'll get to that in a minute, why I say mostly. They're meatier birds. So if I do have roosters that I need to turn into, dinner, at least I'll have something on them. I didn't want any eggs from Ruthie because she's kind of a jerk and she's small. Didn't want any eggs from the 2 golden comets because even though they're friendly, they're mischievous and annoying, and they're small too. We're going to probably be taking those 2 out to make room for whatever hens I have in here. So hopefully I have at least a few hens out of this batch. Just because one of them is a really good layer, and I really don't want to take her out, and she's not near as obnoxious as her sister. But here's something that I'm noticing. So some of these chickens that I have, including an Antonio, I got from a friend, and some were purchased within the last year. I've noticed that the ones that I purchased and the ones that I got from my friend are not, more recently purchased, are just not the healthiest chickens. My 7 Buff Orpingtons and then the 3 black sex links I bought a couple of years later were very healthy birds. Very healthy birds. up until they got too old, you know, obviously. Even Claire, who's 8 years old now, she's the only remaining Buff Orpington I have from my original flock of birds. She kind of limps. I think she's got a bad hip or whatever, or whatever it would be, something wrong with her leg. But, she's old. She kind of has a hard time some days getting up and down off the roost and might need a little bit of help, but she still lays every day. She still looks healthy. She's still a beautiful bird. But one of my Buff Orpingtons I bought, okay, all three of the Buff Orpingtons I bought as chicks last year. They're just not as big and healthy looking as my original Buff Orpingtons. And one of them just seems a little more sickly, just doesn't seem as healthy as the other two, and certainly not as healthy as my original. Now, thankfully, Antonio, the rooster, he is a beautiful chicken. He's very, very healthy looking. You look at him and say he shines. He's just beautiful. So this is why I was high grading the egg. So I have Antonio and then the Buff Orpingtons. I couldn't get any new Buff Orpington chicks this year, but maybe that's for the best. So the two chickens hens that I did get last year, one was from Claire and Antonio, and one was from Roxy, who was also a sickly bird that was given to me. I mean, she was chick when I got her, but she just never was a great layer. She tended to just be more sickly, have more issues. But the combination of her and Antonio, the hen that I got from them, she's pretty healthy. She seems like a great bird. And then the other hen I got, because out of the two hatchings I did last year, I only got one hen out of each. But Isabella is Claire and Antonio, and she's very, very healthy. So it makes me wonder on some of these chickens that you buy, what are they doing to them? Why are they not near as healthy as chickens now? So I think it is best that all these chicks here are from my Buff Orpingtons and from Antonio, and I know they're just healthier birds. So what I'm doing is I'm making a sturdier, healthier flock by doing this. I love my Buff Orpingtons. I've only tried a few other varieties, but so far, we just keep coming back to the fact that we love the Buff Orpingtons. They're meatier, and because they're heavier, they're less likely to jump fences like your lighter weight birds. But even my black sex lynx wouldn't jump the fence. So, but we've got all these annoying chickens that and then we keep trying to have them to make taller. Yeah, that's why I had to buy more fencing. It's really frustrating. Anyway, so I wasn't really going to talk about chickens today, but how can I not? I got 10 cute little fluffy butts over there in my box. And I was like, man, are they going to all fit under that heat plate? I got the smaller heat plate because I hadn't planned on hatching out so many chicks, but no, they all fit under there, at least for now. But by the time they get to where they're too big to all fit under there, I'll be moving them out to the coop and they won't need that anyway. I don't even really think they need it now. I think they only really need it that first day when they're still drying out. But there's 10 of them. They huddle together. They don't need heat plate and heat lamps. So let me get to my part two. So my part two on this, in relation to gardening, is types of gardening. And I was thinking about this because I was watching Zach's recent video, which I really appreciated. So I did link to that one in the description box if you'd like to go watch it later. So Zach from An American Homestead, in case you don't know who Zach is. And now I wouldn't do everything the way he's doing it, though I have no problem with what he's doing. It's just I wouldn't do it that way because some of that I've tried and it doesn't work for me. But I didn't even try the electric culture or whatever that's called because I knew it would be an absolute waste of money and time. Absolute. And he said he did it for a couple of years and it was worthless. Now he uses what is it? He uses a special kind of weed barrier that he puts down, and that's great. I've considered it. I know people around here that do it, but nah, there's a reason why I don't do it that way and why I have no interest in investing in something like that. And some of that is because, well, one, some of the weeds that come up, I want them to come back. I don't know where my borage is going to come up, and I need my borage. I got to have my borage. And it kind of it just self seeds. And so it comes up wherever. And because um it's easy to pull up if it gets too big and starts crowding out my corn or anything else. I can just take out any excess, but it also helps to feed the soil around it. And I can also do a chop and drop. And then I collect the seeds and I sell the seeds. So I was worried this year that I wasn't going to get any borage. Now, in the areas that Patrick has been tilling, nothing yet because he just did the final till and we're done. We're done tilling. So now I just got to see if any borage is going to come up in that area. But in the outside areas that we don't till, I noticed today I see borage popping up and I'm like, yes. I wasn't sure this year just because the chickens, I didn't plant any last year and the chickens love the borage and they eat it as soon as they see it popping out of the soil. But since they've been blocked off from the garden for, several days now, they can't eat my borage seedlings. So that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't use a ground cover. And there's other weeds. Well, borage, some people might consider it a weed because the way it grows, but there's other, like, what is that one I just discovered last year growing in my garden? Heal all or self heal. That I can't remember all the places that's going to be coming up. And so I want to be able to watch this stuff. I can always pull up the weeds, the things I don't want later. And there's plenty of stuff that grows fine side by side. So when I first really got serious about gardening, I was going to go all no-till here. But as the years went on, I mean, that sounds great. Just like Zach said in his video, if you did watch it, where he was talking about the back to Eden garden. And I watched Paul Gauchi's video, and he lives in Squim, which is 75 miles from us. But their climate, even though it's only 75 miles away, very different than here. Just that 75-mile difference because they're in the Sun Belt. And having to get that much wood chips every year or a couple times a year, that's not as easy as you would think around here. And so I kind of took elements of his idea. I took elements of the lasagna gardening idea. Like when I have started new garden areas without digging anything up, without tilling, by simply laying down layers of cardboard and or newspaper and then piling grass clippings on top and letting it break all that down and then planting stuff in it. And it did great. And I was like, well, that's cool. That's really cool. That worked really well. Of course, now, there's always going to be some kind of toxin people are going to freak out about, like the glues that might be in the cardboard or the ink. And you're always going to be dealing with something. So you can till. Some people say, don't till, don't ever till. Well, I don't agree with that. At first I did. I'm like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. But then I realized at least there are certain areas of our garden that do better when we till. We get far better harvest. Things grow better when we till, and we till it several times, especially since we gave our garden a rest this last year. Everything was rested. Patrick went through there and tilled and tilled and tilled again. There was grass coming up. There was all kinds of stuff coming up in that garden. So we tilled and tilled and tilled over and over again, just a certain section of that area and a couple other small areas. But I also have areas that do not get tilled. Those are areas where I grow pretty much nothing but perennials. That's like certain areas around that main garden section in the backyard. There's a certain like strip on about 3 sides where I have nothing but perennials growing. Obviously, we're not going to till there because we got perennials growing in there and I don't want to till them up. And the same thing in my western garden, and certain sections of my front yard garden have perennials. I don't want them tilled over, but there's also a certain section of the front yard garden that really should be tilled. Now we didn't do that this year, but that's where I grow my potatoes. But thankfully, because we put so much stuff in it last year, so much bark and stuff that we were not bark, but wood chips that we got for free, that it stayed pretty loose, so it was pretty much a matter of just kind of turning things over a little bit with a pitchfork and a shovel. But at any rate, just because someone tells you don't till, don't ever till, that doesn't necessarily mean that's right. And it might even be that that's not right for you at all, or it's right for certain things, just like it is for me. So I've been experimenting with a lot of my own ways through the years, not just, I'll take bits and pieces of what other people say, but then find what works for me. Because what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for Deb down in Florida, because we're about as opposite, about as far away from each other as we can be and still be in the United States. Since I'm on the peninsula of Washington State and she's in Florida. And then people who live in the northeastern states, a lot of them can't even put in their garden yet. It's way too cold. But where we live, it's you know, yeah, there's things that my snow peas are coming up, my potatoes are coming up, and these are the annuals I planted so far. My pumpkins, my pumpkins have their two big leaves and they're starting to get their center leaves coming out. My zucchini, of course, I started them in the greenhouse. I didn't start them outside. Um, yeah, like I said, my tomatoes are getting ready to go in the ground now, where some people are probably harvesting tomatoes and some people haven't even started them yet. So there's so many things that you have to you have to weigh out and realize what's going to be best for you. Because as I said, some for some things no till is best, but for some things it's not best. And so we do have, I remember feeling guilty the first year that we tilled that garden after doing no till for a few years, but we found out this isn't working anymore like this. We've got to till it under. And then after that, it's like every year now that whole section gets tilled very, very good. And we're tilling we're tilling up the slugs and stuff, and we give the chicken, the slug eggs and whatnot. Chickens get a chance to get in there and eat all those slug eggs and baby slugs and worms. And of course they have a great time. So we do that a few times. We're getting all the grass that's tried to grow in and some of the other stuff all broken up. And it's just what works best for us there, though not all areas. Was there a couple other areas? So, the one covered area where I'm growing my pumpkins, we didn't till that in, but we still had a lot of broken down wood chips because they sat for a whole year just breaking down, and we put a whole bunch in there and just planted directly into it because it's just like soil now. So there's all kinds of different styles and types, and somebody's always creating something new. And then you got a lot of YouTubers trying it, which is great. Everybody's, might try something, but I wouldn't say, especially if you're already gardening and you already have a big garden, I wouldn't say take all of your garden and do only that. I would try whatever this new method is that you think could possibly work for you. I would only try it with a small area and not depend on that to be, because if you try to depend, let's say you want to go with a back to Eden garden and you do that for your whole garden, and then you find out that wasn't the best method for you. Because I've had a lot of people say that, nope, that did not work for us here. Now, for some areas, for some certain things that I grow, that would work really good and does work good. Or the lasagna gardening thing, like I was talking about. But what else am I trying to say here? Let me see if I did write some notes down so I wouldn't get too off topic here. Okay, I think I talked about most of that. Most of those particular points. And there's so many different kinds out there that, I mean, and they all have their names. And I have a friend who's got she's got 40 acres, and she's trying different things in different areas. And that's exactly how it should be done. Okay, let's try the what is it called? Hugo. I can't. I never can say it. I think where you bury a log and then you put soil over it and the log breaks down. There's that. She's trying that, and it's doing okay for some things. One of the things she did this last year, now that she has sheep, is they planted sweet potatoes, which do not do well out here. But she put in a bunch of like 3 or 4 different varieties of sweet potatoes, and when they did the first shearing of their sheep, what she did was she insulated those sweet potatoes and then also put like the ground cover over them. And there was one variety in particular that did very well because she had that, the sheep's wool in there to insulate everything and keep it warmer, because sweet potatoes like a warmer climate than what we live in. That's why this isn't the best area for sweet potatoes. So you always got to remember that when you're listening to other people, whether they be YouTubers or whoever, and they're some kind of influencer or whatever and content creator, and they're telling you, oh, this is the best and only way. Well, maybe it's the best and only way for them. But see, I don't even know how anyone could just have only one way to grow something when there's many different types of plants that like different types of things. Like some plants, like we we're talking about the rosemary and lavender, they don't like to typically get their feet wet. They don't like a whole lot of water. And even time's kind of that way to a degree, where some plants love lots and lots of water. Some plants will do okay somewhere in between. Some may do better with more sun, some do better with less sun. So how you garden is going to depend on your climate, where you're growing those things, not just the climate, but where on your property you're growing your things, what your soil conditions are already like, and the types of things that you're growing. It's all going to be very different. Same as with our bodies, everything is individual, absolutely. So it's that, I always have an issue when people are saying this is the only way to do something. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. And even the way, like I said, even the way I did things, I never did my garden exactly how anyone else said this is the best way. I took elements of that idea, but also tried to look at, like, let's say the back to Eden garden thing. Well, wood chips aren't that easy. Now, Patrick usually has a lot of wood shavings. I did make and do make use of those, as long as it's not wood shavings that have a lot of plastic shavings in them too from making the chambers. We usually just get rid of that. But grass clippings are one of the best things for our gardens, for all areas of the garden, not just around the acid loving things like corn and berries. But I've used grass clippings around things that tend to like a sweeter soil, like pumpkins, zucchinis, and more. And the great thing about that layer of grass clippings, especially as long as they haven't been sprayed with anything, because we can get a lot from the property right down the road. We got a lot of grassy areas. Patrick mows it. We rake it up. We bring grass clippings home, and we lay it down like a mulch layer, and that really holds in the moisture. So we're not having to water so much, and then it slowly breaks down that way. And it doesn't burn the plants. Some people say be careful of the grass clippings because they can be too acidic and they can burn your plants. Well, it depends on how you use it. And so putting it on as a layer around plants kind of gives, especially in a cold area like this, it keeps it warmer. It kind of insulates the plants. That's why it's great around the zucchini. And as the zucchini grows and the grass clippings slowly start to break down because they're on top, not in the soil, they're on top of the soil, I don't have to worry about them burning them. I've never had that issue. And especially on top of potatoes, the potatoes absolutely love it. Just keep throwing grass clippings on top of the potatoes. Just keep throwing them on there. Now, I can tell you that that's what you should do, but that might not be what you should do. I just know that that works really great for us. So take everything into consideration. And and then just try it out. Do experiments, and then you'll find what's going to work best for you. It's a constant process of learning, all the time learning. And things can change suddenly. You might think you have it all figured out, just like the oregano and the catmint that looked like they both completely died, but I managed to salvaged some little starts, and now they're growing again and they're looking healthy. And I'm like, yay, but I might not be harvesting any. But you know what? That's okay because I have a lot put up from previous years. So sometimes things have to change. Sometimes some of the new plants you've added or plants that you had before that are perennials keep getting bigger every year. And that's the other issue that I have with some things I have to keep moving around is that some of my other plants, perennials, have gotten so big that they've shaded or crowded out certain other plants. And so I have to move those plants somewhere else where they can get more sun and not be crowded. So that's part of what happened with my oregano and the catmint, both. But I don't know what happened to the catmint in the back because it wasn't crowded out. It was getting plenty of sun. Maybe it was getting too much sun. I don't know. But at any rate. Now, the other thing I wanted to say is that not just about your soil, not just about the garden styles, but let's talk a little bit about container gardening. Container gardening can be a really great way, at least, especially just to get started, no matter what size garden area you have. I think starting things in containers gives you a better idea of how something's going to grow. And then you can much easier dig it up and move it into a more permanent place if it's a perennial. And I've used several different types of pots and sizes of pots. A lot of you know I have the green stock. You might notice that I no longer have the affiliate link in my description box because for some reason, and no, not a single word was ever said to me, they deleted my affiliate account. They just removed it. And I was like, really? And I was wondering why last summer, usually summer, or spring especially, I get a few sales. I do all right. Usually every month I'm making a little bit of money off the green stock. And I was like, what? Why am I not? Maybe nobody's interested. Even after I did the review, the one was like a 3-year review or whatever, just basically an update on the green stock last summer. No sales. Then I finally figured out they just deleted my account. Now, there are some affiliates. What gets me is they never even said a word. I know that, what's the other place that will do that to you? There are certain places that will do that to you. All American Sun Oven will do that to you too. If they decide, now I don't know why a garden green stock did that to me, but I've heard of the All American Sun Oven people that were affiliates suddenly just had their accounts removed because they decided they weren't selling enough. It's like, isn't selling what? Isn't selling any good, even if it's just one a year? I mean, it's still something. I'm like, that's just seems rude. It's like, oh, you're not good enough for us anymore. You're deleted. Okay, then. So I removed their link because it's no good. I no longer have an affiliate with them. So if you are interested in the green stock, you'll need to buy it. You don't need to buy it through somebody else, but if you want to support somebody else that is selling it and really likes it, you can go that route. Now, I had tossed around the idea for a while of getting another green stock because there's elements about it that I do like. You got the whole vertical thing going on, which is very much a space saver. And in the first couple of years, my strawberries did really, really good. I was pretty happy with that. Now, I haven't tried growing anything but strawberries in it because when it comes to my deck gardens, that's mostly what I grow is strawberries because they're a little more safe from the slugs when I put them up there and the other types of bugs that like to eat them. But I find my strawberries do better in other types of pots. I mean, they do okay in the green stock, and we did add some of that broken down wood chip stuff that we got for free last year. We did like take the whole green stock apart for the first time and added some of that in. And I'm like, wow, the soil in here actually still looks really good. So that can't be why my strawberries aren't doing as good. But it's got more of that healthy stuff added. So they might do better this year, but I've decided after I think I decided last year that I'm not going to get another one. Maybe they heard my video and decided because I wasn't 100% pushing them and because I was also giving people options if they couldn't afford something like a green stock, maybe they didn't like that. Maybe to have an affiliate for some places, they only want you pushing their product and not talking about other options that could save you money. Maybe they don't like that. I don't know. They just deleted my account and didn't tell me why. So I'm kind of done with them as far as that goes. That's fine. Um, but it doesn't mean that the green stock is a bad thing. And some people may really like that. It is definitely a space saver, but it's not good for everything. And I know some people have had done really well growing like smaller herbs and little flowers, pansies or whatnot in them. And that's fine too. But yeah, I just found that I like coming up with my own ways and ways that can save money. And yeah, so it's going to be all one thing I can say I do like about the green stock is having that dolly. Well, you only need to water the top, and then the water all filters down into the bottom ones. But then because I have it on the dolly with the casters, I can turn it. I try to do a quarter turn every few days, once a week at least, so that all the way around it is getting sun, because you're going to have that backside that's not facing the sun all the time. So that is a nice thing there. So anyway, I guess that was kind of it. Just wanted to share with you that, and if you want to learn more about some of my container gardening ideas, where I also have images and videos, clips and whatnot of just some different things I've tried. Some things don't do so well in some areas. Again, it's always trying different stuff. But I think it's the video I did on small space gardening or small space homesteading, and or there's one I did on container gardening. So that's all on my main channel. I think just last year I did one on container gardening. And I might have been where I was talking about the blueberries, how my blueberries were doing great in the pots for like 7 years, 7 or 8 years, and then they started going downhill. But we did dig up two of them and got them planted in the main garden. And so now I'm just filling those pots up with strawberries and pansies and nasturtiums, because the nasturtiums love growing in those big pots on my back deck. And then they'll climb up into my grapevines as well. It's pretty cool. So, yeah. So I've only been talking for an hour. That's not too bad. I could get off of here, but maybe I'll go ahead and touch on this other topic. It was something that came up, and I thought about doing it as a completely separate thing, but it shouldn't take me long. Let me find my notes. And it's in regards to a comment I got, a comment that the person has since deleted, that I don't know if they were trying to be rude. I don't think they were trying to be rude, but it made me feel kind of sad. Sad that, well, let me just, I don't remember exactly what the comment said, because I was going to go back and read it and say, what was it they said again? Because I wanted to get the wording right. But I think it was on it was either last Sunday's live or my Wednesday live. And somebody came in and just said something about feeling very, I wish I could remember the adjective they used, but distraught or downtrodden, or, they were saying like something to the effect of, you have no idea how downtrodden or distraught we feel because I can't have all the things that you have. And it made me really sad. I was sad for them, but it also made me sad that somebody would take anything that I try to share and possibly take it as if maybe I'm gloating. And that would make me feel terrible if anybody thought that's what I'm doing. And I told this person that, well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm sorry that you're going through that. I tried to be very kind to them, but also to explain to them that's not why I'm here, though. I am not here to try to make anyone feel less than because they don't have what we have. We're not rich. We're rich in ways that, we're rich in spirit because of our beliefs. We're rich in the blessings that God has given us and the things that we have worked so hard for over the years. But we've been through very, very difficult times. We've been on the bottom rung where we had to just scrimp and scrape by. We've all had I don't know that there's one person, well, maybe there are some people that were born into richness and have always been rich as far as wealth, as far as of physical monetary things. But everything that we have, the physical things that we have, it has been many, many years of working our rear ends off and trusting the Lord as well. He has blessed us. I will definitely say that when we've trusted him. But we've also worked very hard to get to where we're at. And we're still not rich. We just, like I say, we live just in a neighborhood. We were blessed to get a corner lot, which means that gives us a little more space to work with than the other lots in our neighborhood that are probably more of like a quarter of an acre or less. And at the time that we got this house, his dad was trying to get out from under it, and property values were extremely low when we got married. So we got this house for $45,000, if you can believe that. $45,000. Now, I don't know where some of you live. That probably sounds normal, but considering the cost of houses here now and what we could sell this place, and of course, we've added on to this because we put this big room on since that was back in 1993, I think that we did that. Or no, 1996. Well, and property values around here, houses are so much more expensive, just like anywhere else. Everything's gone way, way, way up. But we have worked very hard. We've been through twice now some pretty rough times where Patrick lost his job. And it put us in some pretty tight bind. And especially after the second time, let's see. Well, he didn't lose his job exactly the second time. The first time, well, no, I guess it's been 3 times altogether because the first time was when we were very young. We had one child, and it was because of the timber industry and what was happening out here. And a lot of people were losing their jobs, getting laid off. It wasn't because he was a bad worker. And in fact, none of the situations he lost his job had anything to do with him being a bad worker. And so that was tough, but we made it through. And then the second time it happened, we had just started making large payments on the house so we could, because it was the last debt we had. And our boys were teenagers, and we were going to try to get out of debt, but then that was all of a sudden that was gone. It's like, man, I wish I wouldn't have made that large payment. We could have had that for savings. But you know what? God came through every time. We worked hard. We found other ways to scrimp and save and save every penny we had. And things were tight, but we made it through. We learned a lot, especially for me. Patrick was better at saving money than I was. I'll say that in the early years. I was I could be a penny pincher in some ways, but I was also a spendthrift in other ways. And so through that experience, we had to learn a lot. I'll say me, because I hold myself mostly responsible for not being better at saving money and not having more money in a savings account or more money paid onto the principal of the house. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how to be frugal, a lot more than I already knew. I learned what things I could cut and do without. And that was back when we still celebrated Christmas. And It was a very, very tight Christmas that year. That, everybody got a couple of small gifts, that was it. But I tried to be very thoughtful. I found things on clearance, and I tried to look up for things that the boys in Patrick needed, something that was useful. But you know what? Of all the Christmases we had, that was probably the best because it taught us to be thankful for what we had. And that being a family and having good times together didn't have to involve having a bunch of presents and a bunch of expensive baubles. And so I guess the point I'm trying to make is one of the reasons I'm here, one of the main reasons I started my channel. Sorry. Let me get a hold of myself. Is because I wanted to show people, I want to give people hope. I don't want people feeling downtrodden and distraught and hopeless because maybe they're the ones that are going through that hard time like we did. You can get through. If you're a believer, you have your Heavenly Father to fall back on. If you're not a believer, you can still get through. Look at the blessings you have in your life. Look at what's around you. And take that time of hardship and learn how you can do better. We have family that's going through some hardships right now. And for me, it's a hardship to my soul. I've lost so much hair in the past few months because I've stressed so much for these family members. I've hurt so much for them. No amount of stuff or money can make that better. So we all deal with hardships. Sometimes it's on the emotional and or spiritual level. Sometimes it's on the physical level. But we all have something that we deal with, hard things that we go through. And we have to learn where to put our trust and our faith and realize there's always hope. So that's why I'm here. I'm here hoping I can give people hope, not to gloat about what we have and what we've worked so hard and had to give up a lot of things to get to. To get the house paid off, we had to give up a lot of the extra things that some people we never went on fancy vacations. But even that way, even the family reunion type of things, we had to give up because we just couldn't afford to drive, the fuel and all the things involved even in just that. We had to give that up for a time. And that wasn't easy. I love my family. I like seeing my family. Anyway, I'm sorry I got all emotional. I was really hoping I wouldn't. I actually didn't expect to. It just really hurt my heart to see someone feeling so downtrodden and thinking that anything I said or did may have made them feel that way. Now, like I said, I responded as loving. I tried to be very loving and kind and give them hope. And they decided to delete their comment. And I'm going to assume that was a good thing, that maybe they thought, you know what? Okay, she means well. She's not trying to make me feel bad. And maybe that's why they deleted their comment. And I hope that's why. Because I wasn't trying to make them feel worse. So anyway, I just hope everybody understands that no matter who you are, no matter what your life situation is, no matter who you look at that you think their life is perfect because they have this, that, or the other thing, or they're doing this, that, or the other thing, or they're putting on some kind of front in their YouTube videos or in their Instagrams or whatever. Everybody's dealing with something. Everybody has or had hardships to deal with, and it's how we push through. And a lot of times we just put the positive things out there on our social media, and whether it's intentional or not, you know, for me, I don't put a lot of the drama and stuff out there because, frankly, a lot of it's just nobody's business. But mostly it's because I'm trying to show people things. I'm trying to give people hope. It's not because I'm trying to get people to believe my life is perfect. Now, Patrick and I have an excellent marriage. We get along great. I'm not saying we've never had our rocky points. I mean, is there any marriage out there that's never gone through some rocky times? I'd be a little suspicious about one that hasn't. But it's just like with anything else, it's through those rocky times that we grow and we learn if we're willing and we don't just give up, throw in our hands and say, I'm done. You push through. You become better people because of it. You become stronger because of it. But, even with this good marriage and even with God, what God has blessed us with physically, it doesn't mean I don't struggle with things internally. And doesn't mean I don't hurt or hurt for other people. So the world will often throw you a lot of crap, turn it into compost. Right, Tyler. I love the way Tyler can make just this excellent point and still have a little bit of humor in there too. Oh, so anyway, I think I said everything I was going to say. So now I'm just going to try to read some of these comments. By the way, I got so much work done in decluttering and cleaning while hubby and boys worked on the yard and riding lawnmower. Nice. It's so great to actually, today's kind of like one of those half and half days. It's like nice for a little bit and cloudy, nice and cloudy and cloudy, nice, cloudy. But still, we've been able to get a lot done, and I'm just so grateful to see Patrick finally trying to get that figured out to have a covered area for those chickens. I got this blessing of 10 healthy little chicks over here. Oh, I was going to say when I was talking about chicks, I forgot. So, okay, like I said, they're all from Buff Orpingtons. Well, I think there might be one in there. I don't know if it could be one that didn't make it. I don't know, but I did take one of Isabella's eggs. So Isabella is half Buff Orpington and half whatever Antonio is. That big, beautiful bird. And she's very interesting looking. She's pretty. Because I was curious to see what kind, but now I don't know. I should have marked her egg because I don't know which one. I don't know which one it was. I should have marked it. I should have been smart enough to do that. But anyway, because of Antonio, I've got, all different shades in there. I've got one that's a pretty dark brown, and then one that's kind of a medium brown, and one that's sort of a gold brown, and then some that are gold, and then some that are yellow. I mean, they're all unique, and I love that. Rain's coming in soon, already thundering, and we really need it. Oh, good. We actually kind of needed the rain that we got recently because we had such a long stretch of dry weather, which was surprising. And then with putting in a garden, getting that rain's kind of nice because it refills our tanks and then also does some watering that I don't have to do. My wife is 1 in a million. She went with me to pick up chicks last week. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these all look as they get older. I'm just praying that at least half of them's hens, because I don't know how much longer Claire's going to be with us. One of my best hens ever, and I do know there's a couple that they need to go. They need to go. They just need to go. They're not the best layers, and they're annoying as all get out. Well, let's see. Let me take that back because one of the golden comments is an excellent layer. She lays these nice for her size. She lays a good size egg, and but she's almost as bad as Maisie, who is the other golden comet when it comes to getting up on the deck. Maisie's worse by far, but Gretchen's not a whole lot better. So, what else here? Anything else fun and interesting? What do you say here? You are such a humble person and down to earth. This is from Saffron Bay. I love your honesty and sincerity. You provide so many learning opportunities that I wouldn't know where to begin on blessings you give. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yep, go have coffee or invite them over and you find the hardships are most often unseen and not known. Right. Right. We're all real people. I guess this is why one of the things I like about doing the live, because when I'm doing the pre-recorded videos, it's like, okay, here's the facts. I might, throw a little joke or something in there now, but really it's just like, okay, here's this, that. And some people like that. Some people prefer that. Some people don't like this style. Even when I take a section and cut it down to 15, 20, maybe 25 minutes, I try to get it as short as I can, but I still try to leave some of the humor, like me giving Tyler a hard time or some of the funny comments by him that I read. You just so people can see that we have fun in these lives. But the nice thing about this is you guys see me as I am. So not that it's not the real me in my other videos, but I've said this before. It's like it's kind of different because the way the presentation is done, I'm not actually interacting live with people. So it's just different, right? It's going to be different. But when you see me live, this is how I would be if you were to come sit down and have coffee with me. For the most part. But hopefully, I would give you more time to talk and not constantly be a monologue. And I do. I do. Yeah. Yeah. So this is who I am. This is what you would get. Like it or leave it. I can be goofy and fun. I can be emotional and cry. That's what I do. That's what I do. I wave my hands around a lot. That's that Mediterranean, Italian blood in there. I'll see. Oh, how much did I miss? Quite a bit, Gudrun. We're 122 minutes in. An hour and 22 minutes, if I'm reading that right. But I really should get off of here. See, Tyler says truth. We've sat down for coffee with Heidi and Pat and Mexican food. We met in Squim at a Mexican restaurant, a really great restaurant. We haven't been there in forever. Wonder if it's still there. It's one of our favorite places to go when we'd go into town, but we haven't been there in a long time. My little doll hands. Oh, I didn't have my hands. I had to clean everything off of here, and so I didn't put everything back yet. All my little, all my little doodads. The best rewards in life are only received from going through the hardest challenges. Keep your head up when it gets tough because the blessings are on the side. Right. You get to that other side. You get to the other side. It's like studying for an exam, right? Or something like that. Whatever that it's like working that garden. You're out there and you're digging and you're tilling, and sometimes it's hard work and you hurt your back and you gotta, you might strain your knee or something, especially when you're getting to be, the age some of us are, you're more apt to end up with sore spots. And it could be hard. Sometimes it's hard. But what's the end result? You got something beautiful to look at. As I'm seeing my gardens come to life, that alone is so rewarding. Seeing the beauty of all this stuff coming up and starting to, and I'm not seeing so much mud. I'm seeing green stuff, and I'm seeing flowers on some things, and I love it. My strawberries are starting to bloom, and I've got the blossoms on. Well, I think the blossoms have all fallen off the plum and the cherry trees, but my apple trees, especially the old apple tree, just full of blossoms is so beautiful. What a blessing. I'm so thankful to God for the blessings that he has given us. And I don't have to do anything really with the apple trees. That's why I love perennials. They're not as much work in some ways. Well, my grapevines are a lot of work because they grow so fast and so much every year. I have to do a ton of pruning. But those are coming to life now too. They're usually one of the last of the perennials to really start taking off. They're starting to leaf out. Yes, I love it. I'm so excited. Splitting firewood. Right now it's hard work, but this winter it'll be so nice. We're still burning fires, by the way, here, even though we've had some really nice days and some actual hot days already, which is kind of early in the season for that. Well, kind of. Um, at night it's still pretty cold. We have to keep the fires going low during the day and then get it going again at night because it was really cold last night. In fact, I got up and was surprised there was a little frost on the deck. I almost slipped and broke my neck when I was going out to let the chickens out. One of these days, I'm going to blame my chickens for everything. 74 degrees now, but it was 49 this morning. I don't even know what it is. I don't actually pay attention. Oh, I bet I could look at my phone. And what? Oh, okay, sorry. Let's see what does it say? 56 degrees is what it says. And mostly sunny. Yeah, it's mostly sunny right now. And in 5 minutes, it could be mostly cloudy. That's what it does here. So let me see what we got for the rest of the week here. Can I see? What do we got? Looks like it's going to be cloudy and maybe a little bit rainy for the rest of the week. But next Monday is supposed to be sunny. That's okay. We're used to that. Just so long as it's not the constant pouring rain. Let's see. I have irises blooming, the azalea rhododendron bushes in full bloom. Oh, yeah, my azalea. I have an azalea out here, a light pink one that's blooming. And it's real pretty. I see chokeberry bush looking to produce for the first time this year. Is that chokeberry or chokecherry? Are they two different things? I'm curious. I would like to find a really beautiful shrub of some kind that could work as kind of like a fence or even just like a privacy, whether it be a privacy fence or whatever, that also put out fruit. Every now and then I think about that because I'd like to put one around the front yard and then maybe along the backyard where the neighbor took out. Well, no, I can't because it would have to be on his actual property. So I don't know how to do that. Anyway, at least around the front, something that, I could use somewhat as a privacy hedge, but also to help discourage kids, animals and stuff from coming into the yard. And, but also something that would produce and look green all year. An evergreen. How big does wintergreen? Wintergreen is an evergreen, and you can use it for teas, and it does put out berries. I had some little wintergreen plants for a while, but they died on me when I moved them out front. Oh, that's right. They don't like a lot of sun. That wouldn't work. Anyway, if anybody has ideas of an evergreen hedge that also puts out some kind of fruit or some kind of something edible that I could plant out here. Yeah, there's blackberries, there's raspberries. We already have those, but the problem is those die back in the winter, so they just have sticks. I'd want something that looked pretty, year round out there if I was going to do that. Pomegranate? I don't know what that is. Am I reading that right? Let me put my glasses on. Rose of Sharon. And I have a juniper out here, but it doesn't put out berries and it's just getting huge. But I was thinking about that. If I could get the kind of juniper that gets the berries on it, I would love that. Somebody said something. Well, chickens eat garlic plants in the garden. They don't eat mine. They don't seem to like the garlic. What do they tear? They will eat. They don't eat the feverfew or the mince typically. What is it that they like? They all eat potato greens. They will just chow down on. I remember the first time I saw my chickens doing that. I had the potatoes growing up too close to the little fencing to keep chickens out, but the greenery was coming through the fence, and the chickens were just eating the heck out of it. And I wasn't really worried because it was just the edge about the plants, but I was worried about the chickens. I thought it would kill them. No, they were fine. They were totally fine. Didn't hurt them one bit. I would let my chickens forage in my garden to help clean it up from winter, but I have my garlic and yeah, no, they won't touch your garlic. The worst that could happen is they could dig it up with their big feet. But I've had a lot of stuff that they've, once it's established, they don't dig it up. I have garlic that just always stays in the ground and I use the greens and they don't touch that. They just leave it alone. They've never dug any of it up. There is an edible evergreen huckleberry. Really? That would be interesting to learn about. Yeah, no, they won't hurt your garlic, so I wouldn't worry about that. There is okay, so we moved that blueberry plant out there, not thinking about the fact that, there was flowers on there, but little tiny green berries, they're still flat. You know how blueberries are when they first start to grow, they're like flat. Oh, pomegranate. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that would grow well here, Karen. I'm not sure. We moved that out there and the chickens were still kind of in the garden. We were just trying to get it in there. Next thing you know, they're out there big, just eating. It's only, the blueberry out of the pot was only like this tall. So it was right down at their level. And they're just attacking that thing. So it's like, get away. And so it's okay. I got to plant my beans anyway. It's time for the chickens to stay out of this part of the garden. Grr. Hedge. In moist areas, try weeping willow whips and bend them over. I think, Julianne, is it Julianne? From Dirt Patch Heaven. I think that's what she does. She does something like that. And I also thought it would be kind of cool to have what do they call it? A sparling, like fruit trees, but the 2 apple trees, we're going to have so many apples this year. I don't know what I'm going to do with them all. I mean, I'm going to give a bunch away. I'm going to dehydrate a bunch. I'm going to be putting up, I don't know, I might put up some more apple butter and applesauce, but I have so much apple butter and applesauce. I'm having to just give stuff away now. So we'll see. Did I miss that? What did it say here? When it grows thick after a few years, the National Guard will be able to break through with it. They won't be able to break through. Ooh. Well, that's a good idea. Yeah, very, very good idea. Those huckleberry can grow up to 3.5 feet in height. That'd actually be perfect, for the front yard, because I wouldn't want it too tall because of the garden, the things I have planted out here. Probably, but I have a lot of as far as the question on the food pantry, take the apples. I think so. But usually what I do is I have some family members that gladly take the apples. I know what I'm going to do with them, but it's just I don't know how much. My point is, I don't know how much of them I want to put up, but I have plenty of people that will take our apples gladly. That could use them. Some of them really could use them, not just for the heck of it, but because, they could use the food. Last year we gave a bunch to our neighbor across the street here, an elderly lady that lives alone, and she loved them. I said, well, they're not the prettiest looking apples. She goes, that doesn't matter. These are the best tasting apples I've ever had. And I'm like, thank you. Because I've shown pictures of my apples before. Though one of the last years I took pictures of them, they actually look, the one on the old tree, the one on the younger tree always looked beautiful. But the one on the old tree, they've always had kind of look scarred, but they always taste amazing. And people look at them, oh, what's wrong with your apples? No, it's just the way they look. If you peel them back, you see they're absolutely perfect on the inside and they taste amazing. So I'll take a truckload of apples. Do you deliver? Sorry. No. That's a long way, Tyler. My goodness. Hey, Dana. I know there's been probably more people popping in that I missed. I didn't get a chance to say hi to. Let me see. I haven't, oh gosh, you know what? I just dawned on me. I have not been good about going back and checking my chats to see if I have any questions I could be answering. So I'll try to remember to do that, but I should get going. I'm hoping to have time. I want to get my tomatoes in the ground maybe today. At least some of them need to go on the ground. They're outgrown their pots out there. Because I'm moving from the little pots into bigger pots up on a shelf in the greenhouse. Then when they get big enough, I put them in the ground and then it's like, no more chickens in here. So you're gonna have to find somewhere else to take your dust bath if you can. So anyway, I really should get going. It's been an hour and 35 minutes, but I thought we had a great time. That was a great talk. Again, I apologize for getting all weepy yet again. That's me though. So I hope maybe you even picked up a few ideas and found it to be encouraging on the garden thing. You know, it's that time of year, and I have to say, it always fills me with joy and helps ease any of the frustrations, depressions, and whatever that I'm dealing with on the other side, and, worrying about my family, worry, worry, worry. So love it. So I'm hoping you guys are able to find that joy soon or are in the middle of it. I know you're all different because you're all in different parts of the world. So anyway, hope you all have a great rest of your day and a great week ahead. Thanks for coming in. Take care and God bless. Bye.